Hey everybody, welcome to the Velocity Partners Group studio. I'm your host, Patty G, for another episode of the Patty G Show. We are joined by Wes this week of version 47. We're talking creative ideas, we're talking technology, and ultimately, how can you better your video making process and your deliverable strategies across the board for your marketing campaigns. All that to come in this episode. And big thank you to our wonderful sponsors and community partners that bring you this show each and every week. Falaya Real Estate, Lakeman's Health Center, PB&J Productions, and Velocity Partners Group. Enjoy the show. We are version 47.
Man, that header. So many memories.
What are the memories with the header?
Just all the projects, each one of those shots has like a story associated with it and like a place and time and a headspace, It's like looking back at, like, do you have moments in your career where you can look back and like see it and be like, oh yeah, it's kind of like that. But it's like a quick succession of those, I guess. Yeah.
And it's like always there too. That's the cool thing with version 47 is you've got like this visual archive.
Yep.
That you can look back at, and I've got the same thing for the show where it's, let's look at last 300 plus episodes and see where things were at what time. And, I can see the ones that are in Earls and it's like, hey, that was COVID. Nobody was going around doing anything, like everybody was locked up and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, now we're at here and there and okay, now things are starting to evolve and we recorded here because this was the story, this was the reason. So it's like those boxes that stay closed until something like that jogs it and says, let's open that box.
Yeah. I scrolled all the thumbnails and kind of got a little taste of that history of the things, the different ways y'all have done this. I think it's cool how it's evolved. And honestly, I think it's cool how consistent you've been. Like, that's the most impressive thing to me with anything like this. If you can be consistent with this, like you have been, like, that's huge shout out, man. That's tough. That's hard.
I mean, it's one of those things where I could either do it halfway and like half baked the idea, and then I'm like haphazardly trying to accomplish and shoot for something, or it's like if I just consistently do it, then we may be able to build something that's pretty cool and unique. Because like, when you have everybody who wants to start a show or they want to do this, it's, we tell them, okay, well, let's get 12 in the bag. That gives you a good, strong level of, number one, what your time commitment's going to take. Number two, you figure out the quirks and the kinks and everything. And number three, you have time to then replicate and do more instead of just, let me film one, let's post it. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, what's your follow-up? Unless it's for you, you've got these cinematic projects almost, or fully cinematic projects where it's okay. The follow up and delaying the follow up could be of benefit to us because then we can build this all hype. But it's like this is just a podcast talking about business owners. It's not like we're solving some unforeseen unknown crime or recording this crazy documentary. I mean, in a way, we kind of are, but it's not this like, oh, we're building on one storyline. It's like we've got 300 storylines that we're trying to showcase the bigger picture here.
Yeah. I forget the stat, but I think it's like most podcasts don't make it past 6 episodes or something along those lines. Like if you can make it past that, then you put yourself in like the top 10%.
Yeah. I think that's probably pretty close. I would say 6 to 12.
To 12.
Yeah. Well, because you've got those that they get all really excited and some will crank out like 2 or 3 a day and they'll do it like, I would say maybe 6 to 12 recordings. Like after they get to a dozen, they're either going to do it the whole, like, and fill it out, or they're just going to stop.
Gonna quit. Yeah.
It's like, that's like 6, there's still excitement around 6, it's like, oh yeah, we're like, because then once you hit 6, you're like, well, we've done past 5, we got to go to 10.
Yeah.
And then it's like, when you hit 10, you're like, okay, we've run out of all of our normal topics. Like, what are we talking about now?
Right.
And then at 11th, you push, and at 12th, you're either, all right, this is the last one, or it's like, no, we found our groove.
That's
my logic, at least. Whether there's truth behind it, I don't know.
It's a good adage. Like, as a video professional, I found it incredibly hard to make content for myself consistently.
Okay.
Like, it's obviously easy for a client because, they're opting into time on the calendar and there's just more of a motor there, but to carve out space, to get out of your own way enough to be like, I'm going to let this thing go out that isn't perfect, you know, like that was a whole hurdle for me, you know. So we've put out, I think, 3 episodes of the podcast, and it just takes so long, and it's like, we got to stop. There's just so much that has to happen, you know? So anyway, I got mad respect for 300 plus episodes. So
you're 3 in for yours, but yours are a little bit more polished. I would say,
man, I don't know about that. I mean, maybe
like you're back in editing. Are you going back in there and like clipping stuff out and taking this and taking that? And so you're just kind of like are you rereading lines, or are there lines?
Oh no, that it is a totally like kind of a classic bro down style, just us talking. Yeah. And there is definitely some massaging of the story, because I'll go on my little tangents and they make sense to us in the room, but the odds of them making sense outside of the room are maybe a little slim, just because we're business partners and we work together. But yeah, the edits are, you know, the hardest part, because usually the conversations will go for an hour and we're trying to get to 20 minutes. So that's really where the rubber meets the road ultimately.
Why 20 minutes?
It just felt like a good number for us, you know, like, I guess I could probably use an education in long form content, you know, because ultimately the way the shorts work and the way they perform and the metrics on those is totally different from the long form, you know. And we started the long form just to get the shorts. I mean, that was really the strategy. It was like, let's sit down, let's force ourselves to do this. And, you know, the challenge was like, is anyone going to watch an hour long thing? But then it comes back to the consistency. That's why I wanted to like pause on that for a bit, because it's like, if you can do it consistently, you find your voice, to your point. You know, what it needs to be shows up in the process, you know, as long as you don't stop. So
walk me through your strategy, because we have the same strategy within our production company of utilizing that long form episode to make your short form. So
yeah,
that's what you started with.
That's where we began, and we probably tried, I don't know, 3 or 4 different flavors of the podcast, like different ways to do it. And we ended up, you know, 2 dudes in an all right room sitting in beach chairs. That's kind of where we landed. So I'm happy with where we landed. But honestly, the rigor, if you will, is making the time, you know, setting everything up, getting settled, getting set down, and then moving through it in a way that we're comfortable with, you know. And so the thing that, and we've talked about this, the thing that we plan on doing to get more consistent is really just to make shorter podcasts, make smaller bites that are like single topic focused, that we can get in, get out, both in terms of how we shoot it and the edit. But back to your original question, you know, we knew that we needed to kickstart some type of content output that captured our conversations, because the stuff that we talk about before we build a thing is, I mean, I think it's pretty unique to somebody who does what I do. And I think the same applies to him. You know, I'm a video producer and director, and he's a programmer, and together we're kind of like putting together a developer. We're mashing up creative and technology. And it's a weird thing, you know? So for somebody who's nerdy enough to care about those details, and it's if you watch it, you can tell it's definitely, the long form is for the nerds, you know, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that want to get into it. And
that's right.
They want you to go and talk through all the little nuances that comes in with, you know, lenses and housing and all that fun stuff, and settings and everything.
And then you get little gems where it's like, he knows all kinds of stuff that we just don't get to in the course of business. And the podcast has unearthed some of that stuff, you know? Anyway, it's cool to have that platform to have those conversations and to make that space, and then be able to, you know, bottle that lightning and put it out on YouTube.
So do you have a set studio with like a flip off switch that you can just walk in? That we do not.
And that is the issue. That is the issue.
I was about to say, if you're making smaller clips, that's got to be more tedious.
It's very tedious. It's like a setup teardown every time. Like I have at my house, I've got a really cool loft space, and it's just completely white, and I haven't moved anything in there. So it's totally blank. So I go up there and I set up the cameras and I light it. And then, you know, I have a camera operator come for the actual show itself, you know. But that has been the friction, you know, is that it's not like this is beautiful, you know, turn it on, sit down, Jay's ready to go, pilot in the ship, blast off. But I think that's the ideal setup for sure, because you remove that setup, setting up the gear as a point of friction. You can just sit down when you're feeling it, get going.
Yeah, well, I mean, the time it takes for set design and audio testing and then lighting testing, you got like an hour just to record a 5, 10, 15-minute episode. So you got 2 hours collectively for setup and takedown. It's like we only shot 15 minutes of content.
Yeah.
So it's like, we got to go shoot this 15-minute episode. So it's like, really, we got to carve out like 2.5 hours to go do this every time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. One of the things that impressed me the most was before we even talked about content, you were like, here's how you get in. It's like you're so confident in how this is going to go that we didn't really need to talk, because you've set up a space where somebody can come in, you can sit down, have a natural conversation and do your thing. And I think that's, to me, that's the model that works the best, because it's the most authentic, right? It's two people just sitting and talking. Yeah. And that tone is what people want to hear. People don't want to hear things that are scripted. You can kind of tell if somebody's like reading from a page, So I was like, this is the show for me.
It took us a while to get here.
Right.
Like it was the first, I want to say probably 10, 12 episodes.
Yeah.
I had not necessarily like paper printouts, but I had because I was all self-recording and self-producing at the time. And so I would have like questions like printed out or like on my screen on the right-hand side, so I could look and see, okay, if I get to a stagnant point in the episode, like what are we going to talk about? Oh, let me just go through and ask these questions. It's like, okay, oh, what'd you have for breakfast? Like, oh no, we already talked about that. It's like going through the different questions makes it easier to just kind of bounce back and forth. But yeah, like we can't script this. And like of the 300 plus episodes we've done, we have had, I think one person came in with like a legitimate script.
A script?
No, like legitimate, like executive talking points.
Okay.
And like, so like their PR team drafted this 8-page document of like, here's what's happening in the company. Here are the big things. Here are the talking points. And then it's like the last 2 pages, do not talk about this. And then I looked at it after the show and I was like, is this what like people, I'm looking at, I'm like, man, these people did a ton of research into the show.
Yeah.
I'm like, their marketing team was like on this to look into it.
Wow.
And the best part of that whole thing was he never even used it. He never needed to go back and pull up the notes. It's like people have this idea that if they go on a show like this or like yours, where it's, we got to come prepared with all these different topics, all these different talking points. And it's like, hey, let me reference my notes. Right. And every single person that'll bring notes or bring a tablet or bring something to say, oh, we're going to talk about this, we never end up actually referencing anything that they brought and they want to talk about, except for if they wrote down like something very specific about a very specific event or something that we were coming on to talk about. Then they'd be like, oh, well, yeah, let me read this, let me read that. But just, like generically having a conversation, they've never been like, well, hang on, let me pull up the talking points. Say, okay, yeah, point X, Y, and Z. Because then it gets scripted and then it gets staged to a degree, and now it's a performance and it's not a conversation, right? It's not. We're trying to make it feel like a living room, to having people invited to the conversation.
It does. I mean, it's comfy for sure.
Yeah. So you got your show, you build up and take down. Are you doing that for other clients too?
I don't really do much podcast work. Most of what I do is conceptual executions, in the form of a video, so that's usually every project starts with a creative brief, and then that turns into a content outline and then to a script or a series of scripts. We shoot it and we edit it, so I don't mainly, it's mainly like traditional commercial video work with the technology twist. That's kind of how I describe it to people.
Okay. So how did we get here? How did version 47 become version 47?
It's a good question. So I've been doing video work for about 15 years now. I was a creative director at a studio that was acquired and is no longer in name, but Launch Media. I was there for about a decade.
Okay.
And I saw a similar pattern repeat itself where clients would come in, they would get a video, they would make an investment in a video. We would make that beautiful video with a lot of love and a lot of craft and a lot of effort. And they would share it on their social channels, and put it on their website. But there really wasn't the traction that it needed wasn't there because there was just one video. This is probably back in 2015, 2016, where I first started thinking about how do we help clients who go through that process get more out of it, right? So that's really where the idea started. And back in the day, because I wanted to do something different than what I was doing. So it was either going to be VR, AR content, which I had done some of that production at launch. So I had a taste of what it was like, or it was going to be something that was more around video automation, technology and creativity intersecting, just because it seemed like that's where things were going. And I mean, now you can look at the market and it's veered hard in that direction.
that automation of video production is very front and center.
Yeah, it is. But back then, there wasn't a lot of reference. There were a few, and there still are few references. There's not, there's not a lot of businesses you can point to and be like, this is the model, So I kind of like chased down the VR AR thing first because that was fun, and realized that it was a hardware game, and that until a wearable came out that people like wanted to wear out to a bar or to a restaurant, or remember the Google Glass debacle, like people hated that. Nobody wanted that. So I was kind of like, I don't think this is ready. I don't think that and then there's the network infrastructure that has to be in place for something like that to work, So I started looking more at this, video automation idea. And back then it was client shoots footage, client, pays to have assets animated. Let's take that footage and those assets and put them in an interface that allows them to like change out the text, maybe change out a shot, and get another video that is in the brand of the campaign or of, whatever the original video was. So it's like a parent-child type of a relationship. And so I found an off-the-shelf rendering technology for After Effects. And I built the first one myself using Google products. And basically what you would do is you would change out text. So you could change out the percentages in a data visualization, like 49% to 57%. And so there was like some application around, let's say like financial reporting, and then also changing out shots where I could make a new sequence, and push the button and it would render a new one. And that's when I involved Tyler, my business partner. I was like, man, I've got this thing, I kind of cobbled it together. So he cobbled together really the first one using WordPress. And as soon as we got it working, it was like, cool, let's make it do this. And he was like, well, I didn't really build it to do anything other than just kind of work, So
right.
We worked with an offshore Ukrainian team for the second one. That was really where like the bootstrapping into what we're doing began, where I started having to put real dollars into the thing, and that, learned a lot. That product or that version of the interface, really didn't really take off, and it would work, it was working, but in terms of like a robust workflow tool that like I felt like was going to help me as a video professional, like it was not that. And so there was a project that came through the door that was like a curriculum based project where they needed to shoot just a whole bunch of the same style content, because the curriculum has the same blocks in it, right? So you have a lesson that's a day and it's got the same thing that the next lesson has in it. There's the content's a little different, but the format is the same. And so Tyler actually put together in a couple of weeks, like he put together a version of the interface that would support that type of a project. And we've kind of been building on that ever since. And, we're about to enter into a fourth iteration of Iterator. That's the name of the software.
Iterator.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But here's the thing. I need you to for us to talk about it anymore, you have to completely throw out all of what you know about software. Okay. You have to just like chunk it.
It's thrown out. Blank slate. It's the white wall in your loft.
Perfect. That's the ideal space to have this conversation. So software as a service is really what I'm talking about. And so whenever you tell somebody that you're making a software, the inevitable assumption is that you're trying to get to a point where you can charge a per month seat for access to a set of features, right?
Yeah, it's a subscription model.
Right? Yeah, exactly. But that's not what we're building, and that's never been what we're building. For us, it's like a workflow tool. So let's say that you're looking at the video production process as a whole, right? You've got a creative, and then you've got design, and then you've got production, and then you've got post-production. And inside of each of those, you've got a series of steps. You've got multiple people that have to come in. So you've got a writer, and you've got an art director and a designer, and you've got a cinematographer and an editor and a colorist, and all these people come together to make this big, beautiful video with a lot of love and a lot of craft, right? Well, Iterator fits at the end of that process, but it's just another workflow support tool. And if you, in the early stages, plan for it at the very end, then you're able to get a lot more out of that investment of energy and time and resources. And so that's kind of like it fights technology a little bit, because to date, software has been a thing. It's basically, you access a set of features. And so people who own softwares cram as many features as they can into the box to get as many subscribers as possible. And that's kind of the model in the market. That's changing pretty rapidly now, but so that's kind of the thing is, what we ultimately want to do is, we want to benefit clients who are investing in video content, who have real world video problems and real world business needs. Like, I personally believe that video is the best and creative investment you can make in your business of all the creative services, assuming you have a website and a logo. And
Right.
So it's like, that's ultimately what we want to do. And, we want to kind of revolutionize how businesses approach video production.
Yeah. It's like the most highly needed asset that they can have when it comes to their marketing plan.
That's right.
But it's also the least understood.
That's very true.
Like, from the technical side.
Yep.
Right. So, like, we've been for the Apple users, and now even, really Android and Apple, like iPhone and handheld device users, we're spoiled in the sense of the technology adapts to what's happening. And especially like with the newer iPhone, it's point, click, and shoot. That's it.
Yeah.
And you look at, even the cameras we're using here for the studio is not point, click, shoot. Like each one of those cameras have various settings we had to go and adjust to get the lighting where it is. Each one of those lenses have different, focuses and zoom in and out. And so it's like when you have that technology and that tool, and I know you're big on tools, and we'll get to that in a minute. So it's like when you have that tool, it's like there's so many different things you have to know how to do that. And so then these companies are just nervous to either invest in the technology or invest the time to understand the technology, which is great, because then you allow this whole ecosystem to open up of people that do know how to use the tools to come in and say, let me dive with it.
Right. I love that. I like the idea of a creative ecosystem, and it's getting a lot easier to do that. It's getting a lot easier to build those and to create frameworks of opportunity for artists who otherwise are toiling away in obscurity,
Yeah. Because then it becomes, well, we can just fix it in post. Like these people now, and whether there's truth to it or not, it's still interesting content as a whole, are the videos of people that are like, look at this videographer taking this whole thing on Ray-Ban glasses or whatever it is, Meta glasses.
Right.
And, it shows the person like in real life and what they're doing, like all this crazy nonsense and stuff, like with the glasses. And then it shows like the end result, and you're like, okay, he did some heavy editing to get that video to look like that.
Right.
But so then it's okay. Well, now the front end technology is easy and super simple to use. People can record content and have that asset. Okay. But then it's the next step, right? It's the editing of that asset,
right,
to get it to look well. And then it's the storytelling of that asset. Where do we put it in the lineup?
Yeah.
And so it sounds kind of like, and iterators' goal is to help accomplish that.
Yeah. It's certainly a part of the collectively what I hear you talking about, my word for it is craft.
Yeah.
And it's this idea that, one's relationships with the tools never stops evolving. If you approach it that way, if you decide that it's going to be a constantly evolving process, that's to me is why Iterator is named what it's named. I mean, it's a bit meta, but I think iteration is super important to continue growth and to keep things interesting and to keep things authentic. And so, it's sort of like a little vector for my relationship with the tools. I was showing it to someone recently who knows how I work. And he was like, man, this is like how you make videos captured in an interface. And I was like, exactly. Like, it's my tool. It's like my process, the things that I've learned from success, but also fallen on my face, and I've captured those solutions in an interface that ultimately supports me in doing the part that I love the most, which is, tackling client challenges and doing so in a fun way, with some big ideas that usually live up to, where's my angle? That usually live up to what we said they would live up to. Increasingly more and more, you fail enough that dynamic of not getting to the thing you saw in your head in the beginning, like starts to like sort of like dissipate,
Yep.
But it never goes all the way away.
Yeah. You give that promise of the finished product, and like the first few, you're just like, oh, okay, that wasn't quite it. All right. Well, what can we do to get to that next level? And then it's, to your point, so long as you're ever chasing the ever evolving technology and the ever evolving end in sight, you're never going to hit that. It's just perfect.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, we can't go back and do this again. So how can we spruce it up as best as we can and we'll know for the next one? But it's just this ever evolving process of learning.
Constantly. Yep. Constantly.
So what's version, where did the name come from? I'm curious. It's one of those like very obscure names that tells you nothing about what the company does.
That's very true. I'd be lying if I said I didn't question the name at various points, in the process of getting to here. But initially the idea was kind of a twofold kind of a name. So the immediate thing that I point to is that if you work in creative work, if you do creative work for clients, that version 47, if you get to that point on a job before you've finalized it, then you're in a bad place, right? It's not.
But 46, you're good.
If you get to 10 or 11, you're in a bad place. But like, so the idea was like, let's embrace this. Let's embrace this idea that having a lot of versions of a thing doesn't have to mean versions of the same thing. It can be many different versions, of the same goal, the same objective, the same creative idea. So treating the creative as a nucleus for something bigger that would then kind of propagate out into the world in the form of a lot of videos that was where my head was at the time. And the number 47, actually, because I was working at a studio. So I was working 9 to 5, 9 to 7, whatever, but I was getting up at 4 a.m. and I was like working until 7 until my kids got up. And then I would, go in and like do the morning routine, kind of make breakfast, do all that.
Yeah.
And I did that for probably a year and a half when I was building the original prototype myself and kind of coming up with ideas for how we would go about doing it, and a lot of that turns out was just fantasy, but I needed that. I think that time to get close to the idea and make it mean something to me so that I could, push it to where we are today. So that's where that number comes from. And it's, its significance now is certainly bigger than just that moment, but that's where the idea came from.
I love it. Yeah. I live that 4 to 7 morning life as well.
Okay.
It's good. It's like the best,
it's the best time.
It's the quietest time of the day.
Yeah.
That's like just you are awake in the house.
Yeah.
It's nice. That's
right. You have the whole, and the opportunity of the day is like right there,
Yeah.
There's so much you can do. You can do anything.
There's so much you can do. And then like if you're getting into your emails of the day or the night of, nobody's immediately replying to you because there's not many fools up that morning, up at that time of day. You know, so true. They're getting some sleep, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah. You can knock it off your list without having to reply back, right?
Right. Exactly. And so like I've had to tell my team, like, look, if I send you a Teams or an email, you don't have to respond to it at that time.
Right.
That is the time in which that thought entered my brain and I needed to communicate it to you.
Yeah.
I do not expect you to do that. And like I've had somebody, they're like, oh, well, you know, I was like, you replied back at 6 a.m., but I don't think you were awake at 6 a.m. Like, well, no, like my phone went off. I was like, silence me.
Yeah.
Like the time that you're asleep, silence me. Don't let me interrupt your sleep.
Totally.
And have you go into my schedule. Like that's not supposed to happen. What this is supposed to mean is for me to get that to you so you can address it whenever you get to it. I need immediacy.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to further push this world of immediacy.
Right.
You know?
Good on you as a leader for doing that and not expecting everybody to match where you are, you know.
I just think that's just unrealistic.
It's totally unrealistic.
Like again, even as whether you're a leader, you're an owner, it's unrealistic to expect the same without giving them the same. Right?
Yeah,
So like you've got ownership of the organization, you've got ownership of the company, it's your company. They just work for you.
Right.
They help you get the job done.
Yeah.
You know, unless everybody's getting a piece of the pie and a piece of the equity stake, they're not owners.
Yeah.
You know, so they're sitting there and doing their job. Hopefully it's what they love and enjoy. It fulfills them in that way. But they also don't have all that ownership of the actual entity itself that you would. And so I just find it tough to run those same level of expectations.
Definitely. And like, you know, piloting the ship is, you know, it's very much, you know, there's always multiple fires going on, right? And you have to like our relationship with fires is very different than anyone who works for us, you know. But I like the idea of like owning these are not fires. These are not get up at 6 a.m. and put them out fires. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I tell them like, if it's something that really is a fire at that point in the day, I'll handle it.
Right.
Whatever it is. Fire. Like that, like that's my fire to handle, you know?
Totally.
When you're in the office, that's that fire comes up. Yeah. It's your fire to deal with.
Right.
But when it's not in that, like that's the part that's the load we have to carry as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. Like that falls on us because we can't point to anyone else.
Yep.
You know, or at least we shouldn't have that level of expectation, you know, and it's tough, especially in, you know, your line of work and you got clients that want all these certain deadlines hit and all these certain products hit. It's like, well, hang on now. Like I've also got a team that has to have a life, an enjoyable one. And, you know, contrary to popular belief, we have someone else other than you we've got to service at this moment.
Yep.
So then you got that balance and tightrope to walk.
Yeah. Do you have clients? Do you do client work?
Yeah.
It's funny. I know very little about how you operate, but I'm here to hear about it. Here to learn about it.
Well, I want to go back to the homepage here real quick, Jay. So I'm curious on your video automation tools. Earlier you mentioned you had a team that you worked with in the beginning out of Ukraine. Do you still have that same team?
No.
Or has it developed? How did you get there? Like I'm always fascinated by doing this outsourcing and automation strategies.
Yeah. The first thing to mention is that, like, you know, when we say automation, it's not a traditional meaning of that word.
Okay.
We say custom video automation, and the thing there is that the automation is like 10% of what comes before it, you know? I've made a video about this. I brought a notebook.
We brought notes.
We're going to make stuff happen here. I didn't bring in, like, this is a blank page just so everyone can see. Like, I didn't bring in talking points, but I find that when I start talking with my hands, it's like dangerous. And so it helps to have something to ground the thing. Right. But have you seen this curve, the life cycle? Have you seen this curve, the life cycle of a creative project?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Please educate me and the folks here.
I've made a video about this, but it looks like this. Okay. Looks like that.
Okay.
So it's a curve. So when the project starts here at the top, it's like, this is going to be great. right? Everyone's excited. Yeah. And then you get into it here and it's like, this is a little harder than we thought it was going to be, right?
The downfall.
Yeah. And then you get to the bottom of it and it's like, this sucks. I suck. Everything about this is terrible and nobody's going to like this. And then if you don't give up, if you don't let that place win, you don't listen to that voice and you keep going, you get to the other side and you're like, cool, this is actually pretty great. And I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
And that's like, that's what this is what innovation looks like. In my world anyway, for me, this is a thing that really speaks to me and resonates. And so if you try to like automate things that don't have this cycle, mm-hmm. it doesn't, it's not actually cool and it's not actually that valuable. And that's before AI happened. Now with AI, it's like, AI knows the things that we learned in this place, but it can't go here, And so I think if you're a commercial creative and you intend to charge clients, real dollars to access what then that, this is sort of the trough of despair is what is what we call this section. Like your clients are paying you to go here for them on their behalf. And so the automation is a bolt on to that. So we don't, so that's why we say custom video automation. If you don't have that point where you go down into the trough of despair, we can call that the rigor, if you will, the creative rigor of the project. Then you don't have anything to automate. You've just got a template and that's not terribly valuable in the market. Nobody, especially now, templates, back when I started were very prevalent, and so was stock footage. And now you can just go make that if you want to make that, And so, the automation thing began with the offshore team. Back to the question, that's just like some important setup to like understand like the disconnect that we experienced with outside teams was that, there has to be like, the way you capture that rigor for us is with an After Effects project file. Okay. So After Effects is an industry standard animation software. And basically what we do is our iterator looks at an After Effects project file that is totally unique and it swaps out layers inside of that project file and it renders a new video and posts it back to the app. So if you have a template, we can wrap iterator around a template, right? But again, that's not that valuable. If you have a very custom use case that's captured in your After Effects project file, then what iterator does is it allows us to continually mine that intellectual property of the AEP, that's the After Effects project file, for ongoing content. And it gets way more interesting than that. That's just kind of like the baseline thing. And a lot of outside developers that we worked with just didn't get that. They just did not understand that, what we're building is a wrapper for IP, and that IP is going to be something that an artist makes in After Effects. So my experience working with outside dev teams, for starters, a creative professional has no business directing software people, like just none, just none. And that's a lesson I learned the hard way. Because, there's a lot of different ways, just like anything, there's a lot of different ways to do a thing, And so, the Ukrainian team is like a high point. There was all kinds of conversations with many different developers in between the early stage prototype we did and, what we now call Iterator 2, like old school Iterator. And, I didn't know what I needed to know to properly guide the engineering behind the effort. And this is when, Tyler had a day job and was very busy and he was involved, but he was not as available to the process as I was. And so I actually had a developer here that was helping me. So I had a team there and I had a local Python developer here. And we just churned on that thing for months, probably 12 months,
Wow.
And we never really got it to the point where it needed to be a robust solution that would do what I knew it needed to do. And literally, Tyler's stint that he's on now, when he started like in a full-time capacity, when my business partner came in a full-time capacity, he got it working in 2 weeks. So it just goes to show you what someone who understands like the core value that's being created, who also knows the tools, developer tools, which I did not, can accomplish. And a lot of that was done like with his nimble developer fingers, typing the code out himself, so that's really where I think our trajectory towards getting where we are now, where we've actually got some case studies and we've got some market examples of what we're doing. It's not just a concept anymore, which it was back then. It was just a concept that I knew would work, but all these boxes had to get checked for that concept to even be able to get vetted by the market, and so thanks to Tyler for coming in and doing that. We've got some momentum going now,
Welcome to the brand new Falaya mobile app. We took all the same tech that's helped hundreds of people sell their homes themselves and packed it into an easy-to-use app for your phone. When you download the Falaya mobile app on either the Apple or Android App Store, you'll immediately be able to see the power of this game-changing tool. From the seller's dashboard, you can navigate to all the information that you need. We intentionally separated everything into key groups, such as tasks to be completed, buyer leads for your listing, and contact information for everyone involved through closing. When you get an offer on your property, you can simply review and respond all within the app. No matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to monitor everything that's going on with your property from listed to sold. It's truly the power of Falaya in the palm of your hand. Download the app and see for yourself. Falaya, it's real estate reimagined.
Yeah, it's tough to have that end product vision and be like, this is what we're trying to build.
Yeah.
And then they look at you and they say, okay, we're in a little bit more detail than that.
Yeah.
Like I need you to walk us back several steps for us to figure out how to build that. And then when you have that person, that's kind of that mind that sees the end and also knows how to get there. That's just huge.
Yeah, it's funny how different industries have this same dynamic in play, right? Like in this case, we're talking about creative and technology kind of coming together in one place. Mm-hmm. But I've observed that plenty of different industries have that same dynamic where, if you bring in the right talent with the right experience, it can completely lever up what's being made and what's being created. But, the vision is almost, it's like a blessing and a curse, because, you've got this idea that you're charging towards. And one of the things that I learned was that, not having the right team in place can keep you from stumbling into what's possible, which is typically what a creative process will reveal to you if you work it, and you stick with it, is you find things that you couldn't possibly imagine were there. It's like, the happy little accidents, what's the painter guy's name? I'm drawing a blank. Bob Ross. Thank you, Bob Ross. It's like Bob Ross's happy little accident, And so I've learned to actually structure my process so that I find those moments to poke around in the dark and stumble into things that I didn't think were going to be there. And that's much easier to do with a creative brief that's going to get turned into a video than it is with a software product, So I don't know if that's a relevant story or not, but once Tyler got involved and he and I, we're on the level, we can communicate. We started having these eureka moments, things that we just, could not have really delegated out to a team who's punching a task list, because we tried different things. There were different iterations of Iterator, and, in doing so, just like anything else, it's cool. We got inspired and we're able to affect this 2-person process of creative and technology.
Yeah. Which is huge.
It is.
For them to be able to speak the same language.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's hard for those worlds to intersect in a way, it's like the way I describe how we work together, he deals in database and code, and I deal in ideas and, and shots, cinematography and design and animation. But I'm just obsessed enough with efficiency systems to be able to get into his database logic world. And he's just, and actually practiced in making visuals and doing music and, things that are not database and logic. so that intersection, actually there's an overlap there that allows us to have some cool ideas that are, a product of, just kind of like vibing on it and working together.
Yeah, I love it. So in these creative briefs, these creative, I guess, starts to every project, how do y'all get to a point where you've got like a narrative almost?
Yeah, I love that question. The creative brief for me kind of goes back to when I was working at a studio. What I observed is that clients would come in and they would have like an idea for a video, and it would usually like what their competition was doing. We want to do this, but better, right? And so the move back then was, we'll call a copywriter. Come in and write a script, and the copywriter would come in, write the script, and I did that probably for 6 or 8 months. And I was like, if I keep doing this, I'm going to make the same video every time. Like, we're never going to find something that is, uniquely valuable and uniquely useful if we don't have a more robust process. And so the creative brief is actually more about the market and the audience and the business context, what they're trying to accomplish, what's worked before that hasn't worked, or that what's worked before, what has not worked, and then using that rationale to support the idea that follows. So it's not about some big idea. It's about an idea that grows a business, an idea that opts in an audience. I'm not a big story guy. I think story is a tool. I'm more of a narrative guy. And what I mean by that is that, stories begin and end, but narratives keep on going, right? Narratives evolve over time. Narratives spur action, and they help a client find their people, right? The right people, the right audience. And so that's why I love that you use that word, narrative. I'm big on that. And so that's kind of where that whole thing landed for me, the creative brief process. And I thought I made up the term creative brief, because I literally went in and it was like, all right, team, we're going to start doing creative briefs. And like a few of them had worked in other places, and they were like, that's nice, cool.
I was wondering when we were going to get here.
Exactly.
I'm wondering when you were going to get to the point of saying, let's do creative briefs.
Exactly. Those early days, I tell you, those people, bless all their hearts, they put up with me. But to me, it was that dedication of like, all right, I'm going to do my research and do my homework. And then I'm going to let the creative brief be the legwork that supports the idea. I've always been an avid writer. Like, I've always been really good at writing in college. And, even before that, like as a lyricist for myself. And so like, I just really, those years when I've, sort of like first started down the creative path, because I began as a producer. I was, an operations manager and a producer, and wrote my way into the creative side of the business. So that would just help me have a central kind of single point of truth for the project, where I go, okay, client, this is what we are doing. Circulate this internally, like all the stakeholders, anyone who wants to have an opinion, like now is the time to really nitpick this, and if this is not the right business rationale for the ideas, great. Like, let's fix it. Let's change it.
Yeah.
And then once that's approved, I can take that to my team, and this is what we are doing. And so it's sort of like an externally facing document and an internally facing document that everybody can use to get on the same page. Anyone who's coordinated creative endeavor knows that like getting everyone on the same page is the quintessential hardest part, and that's where I think creative work gets biffed when there's a lot of people, is that, capturing the essence of the idea and the essence of the objective just doesn't happen, So like, do I have to write one for every project? No, but I do, because I always end up paying for it when I don't. Like, time has taught me that like it's a quintessential part of the process. And then I can like hand it off. I can bring somebody in. I can bring in a writer at that point and be like, cool, this is what we're doing. But, so I imagine that as we grow, I'm going to continue to stay in that seat, and I want to stay in that seat. I don't want to get to a point where I'm not on the strategic front. And I believe you've had Chuck on your show, Chuck Sanchez from Stun, right? I feel like I was scrolling and I saw like a strategic creative, but he's a great example of someone who marries creative and strategy really well with a big team of people. And that's hard to do. So for me, the brief is sort of like the guardrail, that helps keep the thing in line and helps us grow along a trajectory that is anchored in what we know and what we're good at.
Well, it also gives you a point of reference throughout the project to like look back. If you can come in at any given point in time in the project, let's say you've been hands off for however long, and you're doing a review of the work, and you're starting to look at what they've drafted, what they've started to kind of assemble, and what does that narrative say in relation to where we started?
Yeah.
And if we've, diverted from our origin, was there a reason for it? Was there a rationale for it? Or have we just got so caught up in X, Y, and Z that we've lost sight of this, this original scope?
That's a great point. Talk me through the changes and why they've changed, right? Like and I think as a leader, especially with creative work, because it's going to evolve. It's going to change.
Well, it's always going to evolve.
Definitely. But having a touch point to do that is super critical. You're right.
Yeah. Be like, hey guys, like we started here, right? This is our narrative.
Yeah.
And then if we look at where you're at, and y'all were to tell me what's the narrative that's been created here, do they align? And if they don't, why?
Yep.
Not necessarily saying we need to go back to the original one, but why do we stray from here? What was the reasoning for the stray? Is it ultimately the client's decision, or is it once we got into actual shooting of this narrative, we quickly found this was unachievable, or it's like, or this was just dead wrong. Like this is where the hopes and dreams were laid, but there's no accomplishing those hopes and dreams.
And that does happen. And I think that's part of thinking big, right? Like
you have to.
You have to. Yeah, you have to have those moments.
Yeah. But every now and again, maybe the train of thought needs to change paths.
Yeah.
Change the tracks.
A little fork in the road.
Exactly. So what's upcoming, man? What's on the horizon for y'all?
What I see coming for us, at least in Q1, is a push into user-generated content.
Okay.
And as a term, UGC means like influencers, like, basically getting paid to make, in the brand space, in the commercial space, that's usually what it means. But, something that, you can't see on this website. We have a separate site for it called Other Photons.
The hidden site.
Yeah, well, right. Well, it's a very different, it's the same exact thing, but people experience what we do differently. Mm-hmm. So we do experiential work as well. So we do, that's it. We do creative, we do projection mapping, and we do things that are more designed around experiential spaces.
Okay.
So this is people in the real world experiencing our work. It's very mysterious in its language, and it's the same pictures from the version 47 page, but it's got our faces covered. And the idea here is that we're trying to kind of create a little bit of mystery around going out into the world and experiencing the content that we make together like that. Because I feel like, especially now with it being possible to make literally any video that looks real, have anything in it, I think there's going to be a mass migration away from spending time on social media just because people aren't going to trust it. Like, I think today I was scrolling, because I'm just like, I'm human. And
we all do it.
I catch myself doing it. And I had like 3 videos in a row where I was like, I don't know if this is real, I don't. And when you erode that like sense of like, what am I actually doing here? Like, and I feel like some people will be fine with that, Oh, look, it's a poodle attacking a bear and the poodle wins, people like, there's going to be plenty of folks who are cool with that. And again, I don't really care. I'm fine with that if that's what you want to watch. But I also think there's plenty of people who are not going to want to do that. And there'll be a push towards going out and experiencing things in the real world. So when I say experiential, that's what I mean. It's like an installation, like what we do. So we have a couple of those projects coming up, in Q1. And so what we've been trying to do is say, okay, how can we take what we know about brand and what we know about filmmaking and wrap it into an experience for a group of people at an event? And I think the thing that I keep on hearing from clients over and over again is like, we want to give people away who are at the event to share, like to like put themselves into the context of the event. So that's, the way the assets look and the way the brand looks. And that's, giving them maybe a cool step and repeat that they can step in front of that is, has some projection mapping, has some installation around it.
Yeah.
So we're going to be exploring that space here with a few different clients. So to me, that's not like bread and butter type work. But it's really important work because it brings people together. Mm-hmm. And that's important to me, creating community and creating moments for people that they'll remember and that they'll talk about. I feel like that's ultimately the best way to engage with a brand, is in a moment with a bunch of other people.
Absolutely, man.
Thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Lake Men's Health Center with Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group. Guys, I know it's tough to get out and go to the doctor. I know it's challenging to find time in our busy days, but I promise you, signing up to be a part of this group with Dr. Curtis Chastain and Dr. Tyler Boudreau, you won't regret it for several reasons, but most of those being the fact of the time it saves, where you're able to get in on the same day, get that appointment done, and spend that time you need to talk with them about what your health goals and concerns are, as well as ensuring that the financial investments you have, you will be able to live out and see those come to fruition. So if you're an investing guy, you know all about and planning for the future and investing in the future. There's no other more important thing to invest in than your health. Make sure you go check them out. Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group Men's Health Center, and tell them Patty G sent you.
So that's the, sort of like the long-term thing that we're working towards. And it's not necessarily a separate thing, it's the same approach where we have an intention and we do our best to understand the audience, like we would with a creative brief for a video, but it's just being expressed in an installation out in the real world. And what we want to do is make it to where these things are interactive so people can actually in some way affect what they're seeing on the screen.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. I'm excited to see more and more of them.
Well, me too. Yeah, there's hopefully more of that. Hopefully more of that coming. And then on the filmmaking side of things, we have this thing that, and this is one of the beautiful parts about working with a developer, because I can be like, hey man, what if we tried this? And then he'll be like, that's a really bad idea. Or that's actually kind of cool. What if we did it? So I was like, what if we took the social media experience, okay, and we put it on our website? And instead of saying, go to our website and push play and sit there for 2 minutes and watch the video that we've crafted for you with care and intention. I think there's always going to be a place for that. And I by no means want to undo that. But I think there also needs to be something else. And what we talked about doing was like a social media feed where you basically, if you're sending it to somebody, the ask is not, hey, go watch this video. It's, I put together a curated feed for you and it's about this. Go check it out. Scroll through it at your leisure. It's just a very different ask of somebody. And so if you want to go to the website, it's on version 47 under the thoughts page. Yeah. So we've got these different feeds, right? So there's one there, the behind the scenes feed is the one I'll actually leave with your audience. Like if you want to know what it's like to work with us and work with me, just go scroll through here. There's a bunch of behind the scenes videos. And so this is a thing you can do like on your phone, or you can do it on the website. And in 10 minutes, if you spend 10 minutes, you'll have a pretty good feel for how we operate and how, what I'm like on set and, like how Tyler and I are. There's like, this paints the whole picture of the company. And it's, if you don't want to read what we've written, you don't want to look at our portfolio, you could spend time hearing these feeds and
just flipping back and forth.
Exactly.
I love it.
So saying to somebody, we want you to make an investment in content for social media. The ROI there is pretty tricky for me. Like, I think that's hard. But if we say, we want you to make an investment in curated feeds for your website that cultivate very intentional and direct conversations with your buying audience, that's a very different proposition, right? Mm-hmm. And then you also have everything you need for social media from that process. So we're calling that content as a service is the name of that. And we're going to be doing some of those projects in Q1 as well. And to me, that's really where I see the filmmaking side of what we do going. That's not to say that, we want to change the business to be nothing but vertical content that lives in a feed, but it is definitely, to me, is a reason to buy that doesn't really exist currently, because if I'm in sales and, maybe I sell irrigation equipment, right? I'm a B2B company. I sell irrigation equipment to landscapers, right? Mm-hmm. Like my sales tactic for those products, that language is pretty niche, right? Pretty niche. So if I can create some feeds that, are short and they're designed to perform just like social content is, that I can send to a landscaper and be like, scroll this, it's a new product, or scroll this, here's some ways that we've, whatever the category is. Mm-hmm. It's just a more engaging way, I think, to get somebody interested in the solution set or the product that you're offering. And then inside of those feeds, you can build in little ways to interact, like, sign up for the email or whatever the thing is, So I'm pretty, we tongue in cheek call that feederator. We're just kind of joking.
Feederator.
But it's just like, the compliment to iterator. But yeah, I'm stoked about that opportunity. And, just like I said earlier, everything takes 5 times longer.
Absolutely.
Than you think it will.
It takes way longer than you anticipate.
But the prospect of building feeds like that for clients, which is totally new. Like I get really excited with new stuff, I have a lot of big ideas, but again, 5 times longer, like that's really been my lesson as a business owner, is that these ideas are cool and they absolutely hold up from a rationale standpoint, but you're going to have to be a lot more patient. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have a lot more money than you thought. You're going to have to have.
You need more time and money.
Time and money. Yeah. But that's one of the bigger ideas that I'm stoked about for 2026 for sure.
That's awesome, man. So before we get you out of here, we do have a set list of questions we ask every guest.
Cool.
First one is, what is something you did as a kid you wish you could still do today?
Man, I'd really love to have a tree house like I did when I was a kid. And just like go out there, maybe in the morning, maybe with some coffee, maybe at night with a drink. I don't know. I had a really ballin' treehouse when I was a kid. My dad was a builder, mm-hmm. and he built me a treehouse pretty high for a kid. Like it was, I don't know how many feet up, but I was 5, so it was way up there.
Way up there, yeah.
And I fell out of it once and landed on my back. Mm-hmm. And my parents ran out and they were like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Well, the fall was fun, but it really hurt when I landed."
It's the
5 years old.
It's the sudden stop.
It's a sudden stop.
That's the painful part.
Yeah, but I think I would have a treehouse. I think I'd bring that back if I could.
I love it. What are 3 lessons you've learned along the way?
Yeah, I've said this too many times today, but the biggest lesson for me is that the thing takes longer than you think it's going to. It takes more money than you think it's going to, of course. But I think probably the biggest thing is that, those moments of uncertainty that any business owner has, and those moments of doubt, is this going to be what I think it's going to be? Those moments are there to deepen your relationship with the truth, and what actually is going to show up for you is going to come from, how you overcome that doubt and the things that you both realize internally and maybe that you research. But to me, the doubt as a tailwind to get better and to improve is one of the biggest things that I just did not see coming from my journey as a business owner, Mm-hmm. That makes sense?
It does, yeah. So what is something you love about Baton Rouge?
I love the food. I'm just kidding. No, I do love the food. Baton Rouge has a ton of really unexpected moments in our creative community. There are so many talented people here in artist circles, in musical circles. I am And it almost sounds cliche to say that, because people say it a lot, but it's so true. There are so many talented people here. And, I don't know what it is about this place, but, there's just, it's got more to offer than meets the eye. And that really comes down, I think, to the talented artists. And again, I'm in art circles and in music circles, more importantly. Like, that's really always been my like personal avenue of expression. And there's just so many great musicians here, musicians that travel the world, based right here in Baton Rouge. Oh, yeah. So I'm most impressed, I think, by the creative community here.
Absolutely, man. So what can I do to help you?
That's a good question. I mean, you're helping me a lot by having a conversation on camera. It's always good to work these muscles. I don't know. You and I do similar things. So maybe there's some avenues for collaboration.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We can maybe solve your setup takedown issue.
Definitely. When it comes time to build a studio, you're the guy to talk to. Yeah. 'Cause it's nice, man. You did it right. For sure.
It took a lot of collaborating and a lot of talking with people.
I'll bet.
We're pretty happy with how the PB&J studio came to be.
Nothing but soft light, folks.
That's right.
For those of you at home, nothing but soft light.
Soft light, soft voices.
That's right. that's right.
Well, thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate your time today. Really
let me put this down while we're signing off.
Conversation and everything. Right. Get the angles,
I have a confession to make.
Okay.
I don't usually allow cameras on the right side of my body. Oh. Yeah, I've got like a bilateral line, and cameras are not allowed over here because my good side's on this side. So I didn't really want to be like this the whole time, like talking to you. So here we are. But I'm mostly joking. I'm not entirely serious.
Well, the good news is that camera's been on me this whole time.
Okay.
So
technically,
that one.
Technically, that's true. Okay, so we're safe. We're good.
I mean, you got the wide shot, but
I mean, it's a little on the inside of the line, but it's acceptable.
Yeah.
I've done this to myself. It's fine.
Yeah, you'll survive. It's better than, sitting in this chair, right?
Probably so. Yeah.
So, well, thank you for coming on the show, Wes.
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. This is really great, and I appreciate what you're doing for the business community in Baton Rouge with this show, and I appreciate the consistency with which you do it. It's not easy, and freaking keep rocking, man.
We're gonna keep on trucking along, man.
Cool.
So thank you, and thank you everybody else for listening or watching, whatever platform you consume us on. We'll see you here next week for a new episode of the Patty G Show.